Hey everybody, this is Carrick here again with vVvTime, and we're going to look at another one of his games from the show match series of Prime versus vVv, as we covered in the cast just before this. At this point, Time in the last game beat Hannibal, and at this point he is 3-3, tied up with Prime, and Prime brings out their anchor, their star player, their ace, MarineKing. So we can see in the chat, he yells out, GTL baby fighting. He's a friend of yours, isn't he? He was making a lot of noise in the chat when this cast was going on live. I do know that.
Yeah, he's a pretty funny, he's a very innovative Protoss player. He's kind of trollish.
And so we can see that in the lower left-hand corner here, we have our blue Protoss time, and in the right side of the map here, we have MarineKing Prime. I know it says Zephyr Prime, but it is MarineKing Prime. The map is Icy Cup Test Bug. Test Bug is a map that's not in the ladder, but it's a very, very nice map. It has 3 spawn positions. It's unique in that. The players can spawn in any one of the 3 spawn positions. Outside of each player's base, we have rocks covering up the Xel'Naga Tower on this version of the map. Other versions of the map are a little bit different. But in this version that we have rocks covering up the Xel'Naga Tower that will watch all the attack angles to your base. In the center of the map, we have one uncovered Xel'Naga Tower, and then we can see the rocks, of course, cover the other towers for the other appropriate bases. We have a natural down here with a supply depot to prevent a wall off. It's a pretty tight choke on the natural, so it's an easier natural take compared to other maps, but the thirds are a little bit more exposed, and there is a gold third outside of both bases that is covered up by rocks, but it's covered up by rocks in such a way that you can actually build your hatchery, nexus, or command center if you want to build it on site here, and then break down the rocks later, which is nice for Protoss and Zerg players who can't float their buildings around. So, here out of time, we have him. You're doing your pretty standard 13 gate, 15 gas build.
Yep.
And
yeah, I'm doing the same build I did last game. I'm going to get an early second gateway. I'm going to get some early sentries. I'm going to take this Nexus, get a Robo. And my plan for this game is to do a really strong 2-base all-in, because like you said, the third base, kind of hard to take. It's far away.
And we can see here out of MarineKing, he has taken his 13 gas. He's walling off at the front, building Marines. It looks like he's going to send a Marine out to scout. I don't believe he has scouted you yet, or you have scouted him yet. So neither player knows where the other player is. We can see this we see the second gas going down a little bit quicker than last game, go down around 20 supply, and we do see the Cybernetics core, and it looks like you're queuing up to build the second gateway just about now. Out of MarineKing, we can see that after he took that gas, he did not go the typical 2 racks with the reactor and the tech lab that we saw out of Hannibal. Instead, he was throwing down a factory right away, which is really interesting. If you were to, by some miracle, scout this factory, what would you think he's going for?
I would pretty much think that he's going to do the build that we're about to see out of him.
So, can see he's throwing down the second gas right away. He's throwing down another depot in the back. So when he takes that second gas, we sort of know this isn't going to be an expand anytime soon. But of course, for Time, it is so difficult for him to scout that. There's basically nothing he can do to scout the Terran player at this point. It's a wall up front. There's Marines out there. And until you get either an observer or hallucination out on the field, I feel like there's really nothing you can do to figure out what he's doing. So you sort of feel like you have to defend against pretty much everything at this point.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's why I get a lot of early sentries. They're good against 2 racks. I get a lot of, in general, a lot of units. I get this warp gate. I chrono boosted a lot, and I get a robotics fairly quickly to deal with the cloak.
And we can see that you have sentries and stalkers coming out of the 2 gateways. Your core is just a little bit over halfway done. No pro production at this moment, using that to expand and build a pylon here on the high ground. So you do throw down a relatively quick nexus. On the other hand, here out of MarineKing, we do see a bunker going up the front of the base. Now, if you eventually scout him and you run up this ramp and you see a bunker at the top of his ramp, what does that tell you about his build? Obviously, we know he's on 1 base. Does it tell you anything special?
Usually, bunker means some kind of tech, cloak banshees, Blue Flame Hellion drop, but Banshees are more common. So yeah, I would be expecting Banshees to come out soon.
And we do see that. And we do see, and so you say that we see both Cloak and a Banshee have started. We see a reactor going down on the barracks, and out of the factory, there's no production at this time. We can see MarineKing is about to scout you. He's going to see this Nexus. He's going to see your units on the high ground. I don't believe he's going to make it in your base now. He's not going to see. I'm not sure he saw much of your tech there, and he didn't. He possibly clicked on the robotics facility. I'm not sure. It's going to be hard to tell whether he clicked on that or not, but I don't think that's going to change his plan very much. It does appear that he's going Cloak Banshee right now. He's throwing down a second barracks. He has a tech lab now on the factory. He's making a siege tank out of the factory, so this is a really interesting all-in. Is this an all-in you see commonly on the ladder, or is this something the more you see out of Korean players, where they get this factory with siege tank production, they get marine production, and they get Banshee production on top of that?
I've seen this build a little bit on ladder, but Koreans are way better at executing it. I played TSL Rain fairly recently in some tournament. I forget which one it was, and he 2-0'd me with this exact build.
Now we can see this Banshee is coming in here. Cloak just finished at the same time. An Observer is popping out, but he's going to Cloak right away. He's getting some kills on pros. He takes out about 3 pros, and now the Observer's going to move over. The Banshee immediately swaps in behind the main base. He's going to swoop into the main base. We can see that you immediately started producing a second Observer. Do you feel like you need to make 2 Observers there to deal with this harass?
Yeah, I feel like that's the best response, because then you can use both Observers to guard both mineral lines, and you can also go scout with one once you feel a little safer.
You can see he comes up, picks off a probe, and immediately backs off, knowing that you will shift the Observer over. We can see a second Banshee is going to come over at this time. This Banshee's out of Cloak. It's out of energy right now. It looks like he may go back home to repair up, or he may just wait for this Banshee to come in and then harass both mineral lines simultaneously. At this point, you are electing to go scout his base again. You do know that the bunker's up there. But that's about all you know at this point. These 2 Banshees are in your Observer spots, the 2 Banshees dancing around behind the mineral line. You have 2 Stalkers in position. Looks like he's going to go right down for focusing down the Stalkers. The one Banshee's taking quite a bit of damage. He's going to pull it back. Whoa! 8 health left on that Banshee. Very, very lucky Banshee. At the same time, out of his base, we can see Siege Mode is just about to finish. He's continually producing Marines out of his 1 reactor barracks and his other barracks without a reactor, and more Banshees coming out of this starport. So Siege Mode is about to finish. At this point, you have a probe sitting in his base. You know he hasn't expanded. You know something really painful is about to come down on you. What are you trying to do right now? What's your plan to defend this?
Yeah, so when I get this probe here and I see that he hasn't expanded, I know exactly what's coming. I know Cloak Banshees, Siege Tanks, awesome Marines. So I cut probe production entirely. I Chrono Boost out straight Immortals, and I add a 4th and 5th Gateway. I'm just trying to get as many units as possible out before he gets here.
You can see he's bringing SCVs down with this. He's repairing the Banshee as he's walking down, so he's going to have 2 fully two Banshees at full health. He is continuing production of tanks, Marines, and Banshees. Another Banshee did just pop out. At this point at a time, we can see he has 2 Immortals up. A 3rd Immortal is about to finish. We have about 7 Zealots, 5 Sentries, and 4 Stalkers. Of course, you have a higher probe count, but the Banshees are going to come in. They're going to pick off even more probes. It looks like he might be trying to pick off a Sentry here, which would be pretty smart. He'll lose the Force Field, so a really, really painful loss there with that Sentry with a lot of energy left on it going down to the Banshee. We can see this Observer is going to pop up here. He's going to be able to spot the army. You see that he has this tank position flanking around the wall, crawling the tanks forward one by one, immediately repairing the Banshee of any damage. The Marines are going to poke up here. We can see Time's moving up. He has his Immortals in the back, so his army, the front part of his gateway units are absorbing a lot of this damage. The Zealots are trying to get up on the tanks, and these probes are just getting ripped apart by the Marines. This one tank does appear that it's going to go down, but all you have left is 3 Immortals and a Stalker with 3 Banshees raining down all this damage on top of it. It's going to be really, really hard to deal with. Marines are obviously very, very good against Immortals. You can see a warping in his Sentry and more Zealots in the back. Another Immortal is about to finish, but these Marines and Banshees are working on this Nexus. At this point, you pretty much just have to give the Nexus up and hope for the best here. And we can see he is continuing to reinforce here with Banshees, Marines, tanks, what have you. He's moving up here. It does appear he's just going to go for it. He's not even in siege mode at this point. He's taking down this pylon. The Banshees are even going to Cloak, but there is an Observer right overhead. The Marines are doing all sorts of damage to the Immortal. Of course, the Immortal does a lot of damage, but it doesn't in slow one-piece hits, and we do see the GG out of time, and that is the end of the game. What do you think you needed to do different there next time to protect yourself from that all-in?
Yeah, so in this game, I engaged him from a really poor position, and I didn't wait long enough. With the Observers, one thing I learned that's really cool that I didn't know was when your enemy tanks are sieged, you can click on them and see like their radius. So using that, you can judge like how much longer you have to wait before you can engage them. So I could have done that, moved my units back a little bit, warped in like another round of Stalkers, you know, reposition my units a little bit, and then attack. I'll have like an extra 5 Stalkers in that fight and better positioning, and I think with that I can win the game.
We saw when you engage, you sort of threw your gateway units in there first, and the Immortals are in the back. Do you want to engage with the Immortals up front, or is it better to, or are you trying to keep them alive to deal out the damage later on?
I think that it is best to have the Immortals go first. You don't want them to die to the Marines, but usually they won't. Usually they take a few tank shots, and they'll take a few Marine shots, and then the Marines will switch target to like the Zealots once your Immortals have targeted the tanks. And also, I had all 3 Immortals on the left side and the Stalkers there, and I really need the Stalkers to be further in the back. I need the tanks to be spread out, and that's what I mean by good positioning, is having those spread out and Zealots in the front as well.
Okay, so that is the end of this cast. We only cast the last 2 games of that clan war, but if I do believe, I'm not sure where they were broadcast, what channel they were broadcast on, but we did see that on sc2rep.com, all the replays up were of this tournament. And a lot of the earlier games, we had games with Murder, who played it was Murder, right? Who played a really, really good PvT, or TVP rather. In the first game or 2. But anyways, everybody should check them out. There are some really, really interesting games. And so that will be it. This is Carrick. I'm here with Time. We were looking at the vVv versus Prime Clan War. This is, of course, MarineKing Prime, and was against my co-host here, Time. So thanks, guys, for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Yep. So yeah, and also those games are on this. They should be in the VODs for stream live vVv Gaming. You can find that at Team Liquid.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, take care, guys.